The Umbrellas of Cherbourg is a 1960s musical directed by French New Wave icon Jacques Demy. It is one of my favourite musicals ever made. It won the Palme d'Or at the Cannes Film Festival, and we are going to be covering it today on the Golden Hour Film Podcast. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Golden Hour Film Podcast. I'm, of course, joined by my co-host, not guest host, Shane Mulvaney. And Shane, unfortunately, we did predict the eventual happenings. We pre-recorded with the Arsenal victory over Real Madrid, and we didn't know that this was how the schedule was going to be, but both legs against PSG have now happened. Shane, with that in mind, how are you?
Yeah, I'm getting through it. I'm still pretty sad. But look, they gave it a good effort, so there's always next season, you know what I mean? But yeah, I think we'll crack into the Umbrellas of Cherbourg and see if that manages to lift my spirits a little bit.
Yeah, it's a fairly... This film just scratches an itch. Similar to how some of Wes Anderson's films kind of scratch an itch for some people. I feel like this film scratches an itch. Visually, it's incredibly vibrant, and more than anything, it's not your stereotypical musical by any means. There's no real big numbers or anything, but the entirety of the film is just sang. They just sing the whole film, and it's interesting. There's definitely a rhythm to this film. Certain scenes are kind of stitched onto each other with this like backing drums, which just, yeah, as I said, kind of provides a rhythm to the film. It's a really interesting and unique film. It stars Catherine Deneuve, who is a icon of European cinema, and she plays Geneviève, whose mother owns the titular umbrella shop in Cherbourg. And also, it stars Nino Castelnuovo as, we would say Guy. In the film, they pronounce it Guy. What are we saying, Shane? Are we going to go French and say Guy, or do we just
I'm
say...
going Guy. I'm going Guy because that other pronunciation has different connotation where we were.
Yeah, like for our Irish listeners, they are probably chuckling to themselves because
Yeah.
Guy has a different meaning here in Ireland. So I reckon we go with Guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, he plays Guy, a rather handsome man. Let's just, God, he's chiseled. But yeah, long story short, her mother owns an umbrella shop that she works in. She's in love with Guy. Guy gets drafted to the Algerian War. What happens next? It's yeah, fairly simple plot to follow. Shane, you had never seen this before. I don't even know what you were expecting because it is a wholly unique film. So, what were you expecting, and then how do you feel in a spoiler-free review about the Umbrellas of Cherbourg?
Yeah, I don't know what I was expecting. It's definitely more wistful than I was expecting, I would say. Like, I was expecting it to be more... I don't know, Yeah, I did really enjoy it for what if this sounds like didn't enjoy it, I did really enjoy it. The fact that it's all sang, like it's not like a bunch of musical numbers and then obviously like regular. It's literally just all sang. Did take a little bit of time to get used to, and I'm not 100% that I loved that choice. I have to say, maybe it's just my preference in musicals where like I actually really love a good musical number, and because of the way this is structured, there's not really any musical numbers per se. It's just they're just singing their kind of feelings. They're singing what's happening to them. They're singing the dialogue. There's scenes where that really does come across really effectively, and then there's scenes where it's like, why are you singing right now? So I had that feeling of being like, this would just work better if it was just a regularly acted scene. But anyway, it is what it is. But no, it's really interesting. It's very, very romantic, especially towards the end, and like very kind of definitely hard to watch at times, especially towards the end in the esso scene that will come to.
So
like,
great. So
very 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 tough to watch, and like it does hit you in the feels. But overall, no, I really enjoyed it. I don't really know what I was expecting, but for what I was, I really enjoyed it.
yeah, I love this film. The first time I saw it, I was absolutely blown away by it. And on a rewatch, I have to say, and this doesn't really spoil much, but early on, there's a scene where, very early on, there's a scene where Guy and Geneviève have a conversation about their future, and they discuss she says she wants to name her child Francoise, and he says in his future he wants to open a petrol station. Just on a rewatch, that scene, when you see it and you obviously know where this film goes, hits totally different. It's soul crushing stuff. But I have to say, it's an interesting film because it is a film literally of three parts. It's a 3-act film where in the first act we spend the entire act with Geneviève and Guy. We then spend the second act with Geneviève and the third act with Guy. And yeah, I have to say, on a rewatch, I still absolutely love this film. The second act maybe didn't hit as hard as it did on a first watch for me, but that third act where it's not really a huge spoiler, but when Guy then inevitably does come back from the Algerian War, that whole act is phenomenal. And yeah, I am a huge fan of French cinema, as it is very much known on this podcast and on this YouTube channel. And this is a film that I would wholly recommend to anyone who wants to get into the French New Wave, because it is so different to everything else that was kind of coming out in the French New Wave at the time. So it is a breath of fresh air. And yeah, anyone who like is really similar to myself, if you're really into like color on screen, if that's something that you're interested in, with like say Wes's diorama films or the likes of Ran from Akira Kurosawa, if that's the kind of thing that really kind of catches your eye sometimes in cinema, I would say this is a really worthwhile film to watch. There's some editing choices in here which are amazing, and some of the blocking and costume design and set design is fantastic in this film. Also, if you are new around here on our YouTube channel, feel free to subscribe, like this video, share it with anyone who you think likes old movies and might want to listen or watch to the Golden Hour Film Podcast. But first thing I'm going to get into is just that the colors and the set design, and most notably for me, I have to say, just the way this film looks is gorgeous. There's a bit of a tint to it, but the actual umbrella shop is amazing. And I just love the design of like all the characters often wear really striking clothing, like color wise, especially the mother of Geneviève. She wears like really outlandish colors, which on the like pastel pink backdrop of the shop, or if you go into another room and it's a purple and orange wallpapered room, it just looks so aesthetically pleasing, I have to say. As well, a lot of the shots early on of the mechanics where Guy works just looks so great, and in the snow as well. Some of the scenes in the snow look phenomenal in this film. It's such a gorgeous film to look at.
Yeah, really, definitely. Interesting as you mentioned the second act. That is definitely the act that even though Catherine Deneuve is amazing in the film, that's the act that I think is slightly weaker than the first and the third. Just because, and this is by design, she doesn't have that much chemistry with the guy Roland, who she ends up obviously having kid with. That's very much by design. It's like, right, she's kind of just settling down with this guy that she kind of likes but definitely doesn't love, definitely doesn't feel.
She accepts.
Yeah, she just kind of, right, like he's off at war, guy. I don't know when he's going to be back. Meanwhile, I have this really rich guy who can help me and my mother out of this difficult financial situation that we're in.
Yeah, the mother is in dire straits. Seems not too many people are buying umbrellas these days.
Yeah. So it's like she just she accepts, she settles in a way. She just settles for what kind of is on offer in the present term. But yeah, that does mean obviously that she doesn't have that much chemistry with Roland, and again by design. Contrast that with the third act and Guy and Angelica, I think, isn't it? Guy and Angelica definitely do have a lot of chemistry. So she's the maid.
Madeline.
Oh, Madeline. I don't know where I got Angelica from. Yeah. Madeline. Guy and Madeline. Actually, I want to bring something about that up as well, actually. But Guy and Madeline, by contrast, do have chemistry, and that's because yeah, they kind of know each other because she was his aunt. Sorry, so his aunt raised him. She was his aunt's
Yeah,
like kind of care as she
yeah,
kind of declined in health when he was away in Algeria in the Algerian War. So
yeah,
they obviously did have that pre-existing relationship, and they kind of got along and stuff. And then when he finds out that that
Genevieve.
Genevieve, that's the word. When he finds out that Genevieve has gone off and married this other guy and is no longer living in Cherbourg, yeah, he kind of, after kind of a while of moping around, then he does kind of just allow himself then to fall in
Yeah.
love with this woman. Then. But that definitely hits a lot more. But then the final SO scene, I'm sure we'll come on to all this. Like I'm jumping ahead.
Yeah, I think we leave the SO scene to last.
So
'Cause it
yeah,
is
100%. Yeah,
it is and one of my literally one of my favorite endings to a movie. It is such an incredible ending. It's so simple yet so effective. But yeah, so to paint the picture, guy gets drafted, and after he leaves, 2 months after he leaves, in part two, we learn that Genevieve is pregnant with Guy's child. She does tell him this, in fairness, but obviously he's conscripted. He can't come home. He can't do anything about it. And he himself says in his letters, off screen, obviously, that he is like bitterly disappointed that he can't be there for her and he can't be there while she's pregnant. The mother of Genevieve, who owns the umbrella shop, gets this huge bill that basically puts her in ruins. She has to sell her like family heirlooms, her jewels, to be able to pay off this bill. But when she does so, she sells it to this fellow Roland, a multi millionaire, billionaire playboy, who is very much looking to settle down once he sees Genevieve. As you said, by design, they don't have much chemistry. They clearly don't gel. But when Genevieve basically can't hide any longer from Roland that she is pregnant with another man's child, having been not really seeing him, but he's very much infatuated with her, and he is totally accepting of this and has absolutely no problems with raising the child. That's when she's kind of like, right, okay, this guy can get me and my mother out of a situation, and he's willing to, help me raise this child. So I guess in this situation, she couldn't really help but say yes to Roland. But yeah, some amazing editing early on in the film is when Guy learns that he's being drafted to the Algerian War. By the way, Nino, Castelnuovo, and Catherine Deneuve have like sensational chemistry in this film. In the first act, you just can't help but find their relationship like totally legit. It feels totally legit. That they've basically just fallen head over heels with each other really young. And yeah, when they find out, they sit down and she puts her head on his shoulder, and then there's like a cut where they go from being in one place to this bar where they're drinking then, and the cut is just absolutely amazing. There's a few of those, but the even better one then is later on then, whenever she does marry Roland. There's a cut of her basically looking at the camera, looking straight down the camera lens. She does that a few times in the film, and it's really cool. It's very, very French New Wave. She keeps looking down the barrel of the camera, and she looks down at while she has the veil on, and then it just cuts to her on the altar, and she looks back down again, and then we cut to outside, and you see Madeline stood outside the church. So obviously she's found out that Genevieve has left Guy without him even knowing to marry this other man. Yeah, the editing in this film is really cool. I'm a big fan of it, but yeah, that whole second act where she's pregnant and Roland is trying to woo her or pursue her, yeah, it just doesn't really hit the same on a second watch. That being said, still absolutely adore this movie for its first. Like, the second act is good, but the first and third acts are both sensational.
I agree. Yeah, so Guy then returns to Cherbourg. Again, we goes through the scenario where he finds out that Genevieve has left him, and has obviously not just left him, but has taken his baby as well, so his child. So
Yeah.
obviously he's not going to be able to have a relationship now with his own kid.
Yeah.
So he becomes kind of kind of a lot more grumpy, and he starts acting
Yeah, he
out, and he gets fired
takes
from
it
his
quite poorly.
job. Yeah, exactly. Gets fired from his job, and he has like a pre-existing injury from the war, so that's not great either. So he's having to
Yeah,
manage that. Then it's like, right, one day he just kind of snaps out of it after his aunt dies, especially, who raised him.
yeah.
That's when he obviously allows himself to fall in love with Madeline. I wanted to bring that up as well because I don't know if you know this, but Greta Gerwig's first film that she actually co-directed it. It's called Guy and Madeline on a Park Bench. So I don't know if that's,
Ah,
yeah. I don't know if it's got anything
I
to do
would
with,
say it has to be related. Yeah, has to be.
because there's definitely in Barbie, there's definitely like
Umbrellas of Cherbourg
illusions.
tones.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
So like,
definitely.
it would have to be, I think. Now she
Yeah,
co-directed it. She didn't direct it all by herself, but like, yeah, I wonder if that's. It would have to be. I can't see it just being a coincidence.
yeah.
But
No, absolutely. That's a great show.
yeah. So, um, but yeah, and then we kind of fast forward, and he actually has a kid of his own. Then, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
he
yeah.
does.
So
Yeah,
this is fast forward into the esso scene,
yeah,
and himself and Madeline have their own child, and
yeah.
they're
Son
decorating
Francois.
the
Yeah,
Christmas tree.
yeah,
Yeah, so he not only did he end up starting his own petrol station, but turns out he's named his son Francois, which is obviously a callback to the conversation he had with Genevieve all those years ago. Even though he tells Madeline that he never thinks about Genevieve anymore. He clearly
yeah,
doesn't think about her anymore. But yet, a secret that only the audience, Guy and Genevieve know is that they agreed that if they were to name their kid, they'd name him because she said she only ever has boys in the family. That it would be Francois.
yeah, yeah. So they're getting ready for Christmas, and Madeline brings Francoise out for just a little while, I think to the shop maybe, and then he sees a
Yeah,
car pull up at the garage, and he's going outside, and then he clocks that it's Genevieve. So they have this like
yeah,
kind of look, just obviously this knowing look, really really well shot. It's like it allows you to kind of sit in that moment for a few seconds,
yeah.
and then they just kind of
The
get
swell of
talking.
the music as well. There's a few
Yeah,
moments in this film where the music swells. It swells a lot at the when he's on the train on the way to the Algerian War at the end of the first act, and then
yeah,
the music in the music at the back of this scene is just phenomenal.
yeah. And then she's like, they're kind of making small talk. She mentioned that her mom died the previous year,
Yeah,
um, and then she's like, "Well, do you wanna meet your daughter?" And he's like, "No." It's like, in a
yeah,
way,
yeah.
that'd be more painful. I can kind of see where he's coming
His
from. It would be more painful trying to getting to know her, that kind of thing.
his daughter, whose name
Yeah,
is also
Francoise.
Francoise.
Yeah,
Fuck.
yeah, it's horrible.
It's
So
so
yeah,
great. It's so great.
so yeah, they
Um, yeah,
he's telling her to leave, and then the music is starting to swell, and they're kind of both really like melancholic about what could have
yeah.
been. Like they
And the
both,
snow just looks
yeah, and
amazing
then it's just
outside
big.
this 60s French Esso garage.
And then you see like this aerial shot like of the garage,
Yeah,
and then Madeline and Francois come back, and then he's like, right, that he kind of snaps out of it, and then he's back in his life that he actually likes. He really like, obviously he's happy in his life. She's
yeah,
seems happy in her life now as well. So maybe it all
yeah.
worked out in the end, but it's like yeah, that kind of divergence of what could have been.
Yeah, very much a what could have been. But as well, it's interesting because she says that she was at a totally different part of France and she just thought she'd take a detour through Cherbourg because it's the first time she's been back to Cherbourg since she got married all those years ago. And yeah, of course she had to pull up outside an SL garage, and of course she had to bump into him
Yeah,
because that's just the way that fate would have it. But yeah, Umbrellas of Cherbourg, I really, really, really desperately this year want to get into Jacques Demy's films. I'm so tempted to buy that box set that Criterion did, but they're all Blu-ray and they're doing a Umbrellas of Cherbourg 4K this year, so I don't know if I'm going to buy it or not. But like Donkey Skin and Lola are two films and the Young Girls of Rochefort are all films that I really want to see.
yeah, I watched that as well.
Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, I will definitely see them at some point this year. Some of them anyway, maybe all of them. But yeah, this film is absolutely phenomenal. Now, the first time I saw it, I did give it 5 stars. On a rewatch, I have given it 4.5 stars. A 9 out of 10 film. Absolutely incredible movie. Yeah, the only gripe I have is like the second act. Even though it's not a particularly long film, the second act does feel a bit it's just not the same energy, shall we say, as the first and third acts. But that being said, second act is still very good. It's just not like amazing. Like that ending is amazing. It's one of my favorite endings, as I said, to a film. Genuinely for me, like on a similar level to like the ending of Casablanca. Like they are, just because I see the poster there behind you, the two endings are like genuinely neck and neck for me. They're incredible. Nice. But yeah, I have to say Nino Castelnuovo is fantastic in this film. He probably is an actor who will appear in the podcast again sparingly, but just, you know, one thing I do enjoy about these French New Wave films is often you do kind of bump into actors and actresses who you maybe wouldn't have seen otherwise. That being said, Catherine Deneuve is in like literally over 200 movies, so she'll be back on the podcast for certain. But yeah, just shout out to Nino Castelnuovo in this film, because yeah, I don't know when we'll ever cross his path again on the podcast, but talking about him on this week's episode was a serious highlight. His performance is absolutely amazing, and yeah, editing, sound design, music, costume design, set design, cinematography, the film just like it scratches an itch massively. How about you, Shane?
Yeah, I really liked it. I gave it 3.5 stars. As far as the music goes, again, just because I'm probably more used to, maybe the reason I prefer it is that I'm more used to it. But again, there's not like a standout song or a couple of standout songs that you can even pick out, because again, the whole thing is just sang. So it's like it's just all weaving in. Sorry, I'm not gonna be mugged there. the whole thing's after kind of just weaves in and out of each other almost. Yeah. But I did like how it does flow really naturally. So they obviously planned that really well in advance, and they obviously like the way it's structured and the way it's really kind of cleverly structured from that point of view. The second act is good, but again, I agree with you that it doesn't have the emotional heights of the final act, and it doesn't have the kind of the hopeful kind of uplifting kind of
hopeless romanticism.
Of the first act even. So it's like, from that point of view, and it's more of a downer on purpose, because you can see that this is a woman who is just settling for kind of a comfortable life, and completely understandably, because like she doesn't know when God will be back.
Given her social, or not her social, her
financial
scenario.
Given her and her mum's financial scenario, given the fact she doesn't know when Guy will be back, given the fact she's now pregnant and she doesn't know when the father will be back, so she doesn't know if she and her mum can kind of afford to pay for this child's kind of upbringing until obviously the father can go back and help them out with that. So it's like completely understandable why she makes the decision she does, but yeah, it doesn't have the romantic kind of kick that the third act does. But again, I really like the kind of place that it lands on. That's an amazing shot. The aerial, like the aerial shot, and then there's the snow coming down the garage. And
it's fantastic.
It's amazing, and the music is swelling, and you can I really like the kind of place it lands in, because it is bittersweet and it's kind of downbeat in a way, but it's also weirdly upbeat as well. It's like, right, they both are in lives now that they are very happy in, they're very content in. So it's like, right, they didn't maybe have the life together that they thought they would, but doesn't mean it's been a disaster either. You know what I mean? So No, so it's I think it works on a number of levels. Yeah, I really, really enjoyed it.
And yeah, that was The Umbrellas of Cherbourg. We have one last film in Yes We Can, and then get this, we have a 2-month arc. What? But yeah, Shane, they already know about it, but why didn't you say a little bit about next week's episode, what it is, and Puccin is not the only 70s film we'll have covered.
Yeah, second 70s film on the podcast. So we're going to be covering Francis Ford Coppola's The Conversation, one of my favourite 70s movies. It's absolutely amazing. We're going to get into all the reasons why next week. I think it's your first time watching it, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it was my first time seeing the film, and it's quite good. It's quite good.
Yeah, we're recording that straight after this, so yeah, we've already both watched the film in advance for that. So, but yeah, that's going to be a nice way to round off. Yes, we can here on the podcast in the month of May. And then
Yeah.
next week then I'm sure we'll give more information as to what the next arc we are going to be doing is.
Exactly. But in the meantime, I believe, Shane, we have, because we have actually, for once, left it a little period of time in between recordings.
Yeah,
So I'm going to assume, like myself, you have watched a bunch of movies.
yeah, I've seen a bunch. Yeah, thankfully.
Yeah, so this is from the episode of the Golden Hour Film Podcast where we discussed The Umbrellas of Cherbourg. And we're going to discuss the films that we have watched recently. And I'm happy to take the lead on this
Yeah, go
because
ahead.
I watched a whole load of random films. Like, very few of these films did I watch, and they had anything to do with the film prior. So first of all, I watched Crime Story, which was the final Jackie Chan film in my collection until I bought a load more Jackie Chan films, but I haven't seen them yet. Crime Story is like so class. It is so interesting because it is such a dark Jackie Chan film. I'm used to Jackie Chan films like where kind of everything goes the good guy's way. The comedy maybe alludes to raunchier stuff, but never really goes there. This is a seedy, dark, gory, graphic Jackie Chan film, and supposedly Jackie Chan fucking hated making this because he thought he was worried that it was going to ruin his image of being like super nice action hero Jackie Chan, because this film is so dark, but it's also based on a true story. Basically, a Jackie Chan, believe it or not, plays a cop. Gangsters kidnap a politician and murder cops in the process, and Jackie Chan has to hunt down these gangsters to save the politician who's been taken hostage, based on a true story. Yes, I just said that. This film is wild. Yeah, fucking wild film. It gets so dark. Like, I was not expecting this film to go as dark as it does. Yeah, it's like a really, it's, I don't want to call it ahead of its time because it's from the 90s, but like it is quite ahead of its time as far as like Jackie Chan's character goes through some seriously traumatic stuff in this film, and you then see him have to struggle with his trauma, which in his other kind of cop films, it's more about the stunts and the action, and trust me, the stunts and the action in this are amazing, but it is one of Jackie's best performances I've ever seen. He plays the clearly traumatized from his work in the force cop so well. And as well, I have to give a shout out to the guy who plays opposite him, Kent Chang, because the two of them actually were both up for what is the big awards in Thailand? They're like the biggest awards in Asian cinema. I can't remember. But
Oh,
Kent Chang and Jackie Chan were both up for Best Actor, and Jackie Chan did win. But essentially, if you thought the plot wasn't crazy enough, by the way, based on a true story, the cop who Jackie Chan is working on the case with, and we find this out very early on in the film, literally in the first scene, is also in on it with the gangsters. He's the one who's actually orchestrated the whole thing, and he's the cop who is Jackie's partner in the film. Kent Chang plays this sleazy bastard so well. He is so detestable, but he's phenomenal. I can't not shout him out. His performance is amazing. I then watched Glenn or Glenda, a film directed by Edward D. Wood Jr., heralded by many as the worst director in cinema history, which isn't true. He's not the worst ever. There is worse. But this film is diabolical. But the only thing I'll say about it is so interesting to see a film in the 50s about like a pro transgender rights film made in the 50s. The film itself technically fails on like literally every level, but it's just fascinating that this film exists. And I think maybe if I know Bela Lugosi's in this, and Bela Lugosi is always going to be amazing. He's in like all of Ed Wood's films, but yeah, if Ed Wood had like a good team of writers and like a Hollywood budget, maybe he could have made this great, because the thought is there and the emotion is there. But yeah, execution is diabolical. It's a terrible, terrible film, but it's just cool that it exists. Then after that, I watched a film which for me, has become an instant favorite. One of the greatest movies I've ever seen in my entire life. That is Django from 1966. I don't know if a cooler protagonist has ever existed in cinema. He just walks around dragging a big ass coffin in all black, and he's killing the KKK and he's killing the Mexicans. He doesn't care. He doesn't care. He's just Django. He does his thing, and then the reveal, even though it's like on all the posters and in the trailers and stuff, so you know what the reveal is. The reveal is unbelievable. When the film just spends the entire film in fifth gear. The film never holds up. Most of the people in this film die in the first act,
Nice.
because Django gets into a situation with the KKK where they have him all cornered, and yeah, it's all in all the posters and everything, so everyone knows that this is the case. But he's back down behind a tree, and this coffin that he's been lugging along over his shoulder the whole time, and he won't let anyone touch his coffin. He opens it up, and it's a massive submachine gun, and he just guns the KKK down in this bloody, visceral. You can't even call it a shootout, because I don't think one member of the KKK got enough time to reach for their guns before Django just mowed them all down. And that final shootout is so amazing. It is. I know. I then watched. I'll just say it. I then watched after I watched Django and Django, which is the documentary Quentin Tarantino. He didn't direct, but he made about this film and how much of an influence it is on obviously Django Unchained. But the documentary is more so about Sergio Corbucci, who directed the film, and yeah, Tarantino basically says, which is totally fair. It's funny because Sergio Corbucci is so clearly the second greatest director of spaghetti westerns. He's definitely not Sergio Leone, but he is streets ahead of everyone behind him. It's so interesting that Corbucci probably wasn't happy with this being known as second best, but if you were to take any other genre or any other country, there is no clear definitive second best. It's like there's normally a best and then a crowd of people. So to be like the definitive second best in your genre is an interesting and unique perspective. I definitely am absolutely going to check out more of his films. Unfortunately, very few of his films are in physical media. Because that is kind of how I'm checking out films these days, and I'm loving it because obviously you get all the behind the scenes stuff. But yeah, that being said, I have Django, Sergio Corbucci's Django in 4K, and it looks amazing. The definition of pulp, if I've ever seen it. I then watched The Big Boss, which was the first Bruce Lee action flick under Lo Wei. It's good. I kind of forgot because I hadn't watched Enter the Dragon in so long. I forgot how violent and dark Bruce Lee's films are in comparison to Jackie Chan's. They're so much bloodier. So many more people die. No one's safe in a Bruce Lee film. Anyone could die. Doesn't matter how close you are to the main protagonist. And you could die in an incredibly graphic way. And yeah, again, watching all the behind the scenes stuff is just fascinating because so much of this film got cut because it was too violent. Bruce Lee has so much aura. He's so cool. He's just such a cool guy in this film. After that, then I watched Sherlock Holmes and the Voice of Terror because for some reason I've decided that I am now going to work my way through I say all of this, I have 3 to go. All of Bruce Lee's films, all the old Sherlock Holmes films, and another franchise as well, which I'll talk about in just a second. Yeah, Sherlock Holmes and the Voice of Terror isn't great, I'll be honest. World War II Sherlock Holmes isn't as fascinating as Private Eye Sherlock Holmes films. So yeah, I don't really have a lot to say about it. I then watched Thunderbolts, which definitely caught me off guard. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Shout out to Bucky for getting his superhero theme song. That scene is fantastic, has to be said. And Sebastian Stan's great, Lewis Pullman's great, Florence Pugh is great, but come on, David Harbour is phenomenal in this film. He is so fucking funny. MCU movies tend to be more misses than hits for me these days, but this was definitely a hit. So then I did the right thing, and I went back and finally watched Black Widow, which I haven't seen before, which has to be the ugliest blockbuster I've ever seen. Like the ugliest, like big budget blockbuster I've ever seen. This film is actually hard to look at. That being said, the dynamic between the family, so to speak, is genuinely fascinating. I genuinely like really bought into, particularly Red Guardian, Black Widow, and Yelena's characters. Like I genuinely do love their relationship and their banter. But yeah, like visually, this film is an atrocity. The action is so bad. The green screen work is diabolical, especially considering that it came out in the 2020s. Like, yeah, this film, there's like no shot in this film where I was like, this is great. That being said, I did enjoy the movie because of the central performances. I then went back and watched Sherlock Holmes and the Secret Weapon, which is the second of the Basil Rathbone Sherlock Holmes films, which takes place in World War II. And yeah, all I can say is thank God I got through that, because now I'm getting back to the more interesting Sherlock Holmes films. And then I watched a franchise which I know Shane hasn't seen either, but I cannot help but recommend. I watched Star Trek: The Motion Picture, which is genuinely very good, has to be said. It's definitely slow. I did watch the director's cut, which is supposedly slightly faster paced than the theatrical cut. So, and even still, it is a bit slow. Yeah, people who give William Shatner grief for not being able to act, it's so unfair. Like, he's not a bad actor, but like even Star Trek fans are like, yeah, this guy just can't act. Like, come on, he's hamming it up on purpose. But one thing because I've never seen the series, but one thing I was not expecting in this film, and it's very much intentional, kind of similar to the lack of chemistry intentionally between Roland and Genevieve. It is intentional that Kirk is like bordering on useless for like the first half of this film, because he obviously hasn't been on a starship in so long. He's got ring rust, so to speak. He just keeps making the wrong decision, and he keeps getting shown up by other people around him. And I just wasn't expecting that to be a part of this film. And then, yeah, the film's got a big twist ending, which is, it's pretty cool, I have to say. It's not the most mind-blowing twist in the world. It's like, oh, that makes sense. But, yeah, I then watched Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. And that is, without a shadow of a doubt, one of the greatest sci-fi films ever made. It is phenomenal. And yes, I obviously know the name of the third Star Trek film, so I know they kind of fucked up and undid the unbelievably emotional ending to the film. But yeah, Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan is amazing. Khan is unbelievable. Montalban, whose first name I've forgotten, Ricardo Montalban as Khan, is one of the greatest villains in sci-fi. His performance, his writing, it's amazing. And yeah, seeing this feels more like seeing like Prime, Kirk, and Spock together. Leonard Nimoy and William Shatner have chemistry. They have so much chemistry, and I know it's a joke, but like, come on. And I noticed someone actually said like, oh, these two guys clearly don't understand male friendship. Like, just because they got on doesn't mean they're gay. I'm about to just like make this guy probably comment again, but come on, Kirk and Spock are so meant to be together. They have too much chemistry. They need to be together. Yeah. In the same way that it's like John Voight doesn't realize he made a gay movie with Midnight Cowboy, William Shatner has no idea that he has made a gay movie in Wrath of Khan, and I'm so here for it. Their chemistry is amazing. They are so good on screen together. It's more of like a naval sci-fi film than like an action sci-fi film. Like, it is more about ship battles and strategy than like on the ground shooting each other with guns, and that's genuinely fascinating. The film's also similar to like Empire Strikes Back versus Star Wars. This is so much darker than the first Star Trek film. Again, similar to The Big Boss, I wasn't expecting it. This film will just kill anyone off, and like in some gruesome ways. Like, there is some harrowing deaths in this film. There is a lot of gore in this film, and poor Scotty gets put through the emotional fucking... Yeah, he gets put through an emotional mangle. That guy has a horrendous time in this film. And I haven't seen the third one yet, but I can only assume that if like it continues the continuity, Scotty must be traumatized after the events of this film because he goes through the worst time imaginable. As an Irish person, we just kind of I watched it with my sister and her boyfriend, but basically they take on like a load of young people at the start to kind of fill up the shift's crew. And it is genuinely like watching TY work experience kids. Like they're all just fucking useless. Every single last one of them. It genuinely is like watching a bunch of TY work experience kids trying to navigate naval battles in space. And it's like, besides the character, like the actual characters who die in this film, it's like so inevitable that all of these TY work experience kids haven't a hope. Not one of them has a brain cell between them. So they were all clearly doomed from the start. But yeah, the gore in this film is just outrageous. And yeah, Star Trek II Wrath of Khan is one of the best sci-fi films ever made. Shane, what have you watched?
So first up, actually, by the way, I've added Django to my watch list on Letterboxd. So yeah,
it is
made me want to watch that.
One of the greatest movies ever made. It is a dad essential.
Class. So first up, it's Glen Ross, which I know it's obviously been a long-running play all around the world. Written by David Mamet. He also wrote the film version, I believe. Let me just double check. Yes, he did. So the recent revival has Bill Burr, Bob Odenkirk, and Kieran Culkin in it. So like, if I do get a chance to see that at some stage, I definitely will try and go and see that. But the film version has Kevin Spacey, obviously, let's say about him, but whatever. Al Pacino, Jack Lemmon.
Great actor, unfortunately.
Great actor. I say what you want about it. Yeah, great actor. Al Pacino. I love how this film is like kind of the start of Al Pacino. Maybe not the start, but like obviously Pacino. Yeah, Pacino in the 70s and like into the 80s was like very calm and reserved, and he was very in control. And then as you get into the 90s, then he's just like, whoa, he's shouting.
I think Scarface may have done that to him too.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. But this is like this is another. In fairness, this character he plays, Ricky Roma, is like a very brash salesman. He's like a hotshot salesman who pretty much the only hotshot in the whole company. But it's like, so you have Jack Lemmon, who's like a washed up salesman who he's trying to cling on to he's basically trying not to lose his job. He's trying to cling on to any piece of goodwill that he can get, and he's trying to chase down these leads that he has no hope of even selling, even if he actually gets the leads. So it's basically about kind of the over-reliance on kind of, it's a critique of capitalism basically. Like it's a critique of the kind of the way America has gone the last kind of 50, 60 years or so, where it's just all about the dollar, it's all about the paycheck, etc., etc. Which is kind of interesting when you think it's been written by David Mamet, who's fairly right wing in fairness, but that's his opinion. So yeah, no, it's very good though, and yeah, it hits hard, especially towards the end. Next up, The Taking of Pelham 123, from the 1970s. So I have seen So I've seen
on the watch list.
Yeah, I've seen the Tony Scott remake from 2009ish, which isn't very good, I'll be honest. I usually really like Tony Scott films, and I will come on to another Tony Scott film, by the way, a little bit later on. But I actually hadn't seen the original starring Walter Matthau and Robert Shaw. Really good. I liked that a lot better than the remake. It's got that kind of New York City 70s, just sleaze, and it just looks really dirty, and it looks very grungy and slime, like just like everyone's a dirtbag, pretty much. Yeah. It's like so, but the train sequences are really, really well done. Like you've got the metal gears clanging and clattering and like grinding as the train is coming to a halt, and Robert Shaw is really great as another person I wanted to shout out as well, Martin Balsam, who's been on the podcast a bunch. Yeah, great actor, character actor. Psycho, 12 Angry Men. Yeah, exactly. Been in loads of great stuff. On the Waterfront, 12 Angry Men, Psycho. Yep. Great character actor. He's playing another kind of shady wrong'un in this. So bunch of great performances. Really, really good stuff there. What else? Brett Goldstein, his latest stand-up special, which I just want to briefly mention because it is good. Obviously not a film, but anyway, I wanted to mention that. Thunderbolts, I have also seen, and like you, I've kind of been locked down on the MCU in the last few years. not much has. There's been a lot more hits or misses than hits, as you said. And it doesn't really feel like there's a clear direction as to what they want to go in. It's all very muddled since the whole Kang stuff where you have to stop all that stuff, obviously. But I had a good feeling about this just because I think I always like kind of oddball teams. So it's like Suicide Squad, Guardians of the Galaxy. It's like they when they hit really well, and this has definitely got some of that Guardians energy, I think, where it's like a bunch of kind of fucked up people who maybe self-loathe a little bit, but they actually find a way to come together and work as a team, etc., etc. So it's kind of formulaic and it's kind of paint by numbers in a way, but I think there's enough in there to be a pretty entertaining installment, and it's definitely a bright spark in the MCU. It's definitely something that it's bigger. It's a bigger hit than I think the MCU has served up as of late, for sure. Malcolm X from Spike Lee. I had seen this years and years ago, but not in a long time, so I don't know why, but I just had the urge to watch it. Amazing film.
Yeah.
Absolutely
I
incredible.
haven't seen it yet.
Oh, it's amazing.
Massively on the watch list.
Denzel is unbelievable. Like, what I love about his performance is he's not doing a Malcolm X impression. Like, you watch it and you know that it's Denzel. So he's not trying to necessarily do his vocal cadence, and he's not trying to necessarily kind of do his body. He is definitely doing his body language. But what I mean is he's really inhabiting what it means to be Malcolm X. He's really inhabiting why this guy made the decisions he did, whether it's early in his life, because it is kind of a cut the cradle biopic. The film talks about his childhood, and it literally goes right up to his death. So it is literally like spans his whole life. So from that point of view, it's a really kind of tough job to do, Denzel, especially because Malcolm X was obviously a guy who went through a lot of change in his life and was obviously a controversial figure when it came to like the Nation of Islam, and like people were saying that he was stoking kind of racism of himself with some of the things he was saying. But the film really doesn't necessarily apologize. It doesn't necessarily want to like sugarcoat everything he did, but what it really does do so effectively is show you why he believed the things he believed, and it shows you that doesn't make apologies for that, but it shows you like how people can change and how people can kind of evolve their thinking over time. And it's really hard hitting, especially towards the end when he has kind of left the Nation of Islam and he's going to force his own path. And obviously what happens to him, and it's like a really, really hard hitting. Denzel's amazing in the film. It's got that Spike Lee kind of maximalist kind of aesthetic where it's like it's very hip. That's not a white thing to say. It's very like it takes black culture and it really like celebrates it on screen in really, really interesting and creative ways. So fair play to him. Amazing film. The Killing from The Killing from Stanley Kubrick from the 1950s.
Yeah. Elisha Cook Jr.
Who? Oh, Elijah Cook. Yes. That's actually as soon as I saw it. Yes, such a sad sack in this film he is. By the way,
What a fucking guy.
He basically plays a cuckold. I can't even. That's essentially what he plays in this film.
That's my fucking boy.
He's really good. Like he's really just. It's just a really sad performance in a way.
He's such a fucking loser in that film.
He's such a loser.
He's such a fucking loser in that film. He plays it so well though.
He does. He really does. Sterling Hayden's great in the lead role. I do love a heist film, and this is like right up there when it comes to like kind of classic Hollywood heist films. Really, just everyone's again. I say as was mentioned about one of the films. Everyone's a dirtbag in this. There's literally no likable or kind of trustworthy characters in this thing. They're all just out for themselves. The heist itself is really, really kind of well executed and like well thought out. Like it's I love that about a heist where it's like it's not just right they go up to a bank and you're robbing a bank. It's like it's something really creative. It's why again Spike Lee. It's why I love Inside Man so much. It's a really great twist, even though that is actually a bank heist. It's a really great twist on the bank heist kind of genre, and this is another one. I do love a heist film. So early, obviously Kubrick film, and it's I really loved it. And again, who knows? Maybe Kubrick might feature in the podcast soon. Who knows?
Who knows?
And Then finally, this is like Enemy of the State, directed by Tony Scott. So this is obviously starring Will Smith, starring Gene Hackman, who we're going to be covering next week on the podcast. The reason I wanted to watch this film is there's a quite widely held, well, maybe not widely held, but there's definitely like a popular theory where a lot of people think that this is like a stealth sequel to The Conversation, which we'll be covering next week. No, I think some people say that in jest, but I think it's kind of, for a lot of people, it's like, right, it's kind of a humorous kind of thing to say. But there are people who will swear blind that this is a sequel to The Conversation, and we have to stay. I personally don't agree, and it's not just because he has a different name and a different backstory completely, as opposed to Harry Cole in The Conversation. Gene Hackman, his whole kind of character is much more in line with what you would usually see from a Hackman character, which is not that he's so well rounded and such like an amazing actor, an incredible actor, one of my favorites ever. But he did have a kind of way of projecting like authority, and he had a way of projecting kind of gruff, kind of boss like demeanor.
Yeah, whereas most of his characters felt quite commanding. Yeah,
commanding is a great word. Like, as opposed to Harry Cole in The Conversation, which we'll come on to next week, who was much more kind of reserved and introverted and kind of lonely and sad. So
total overthinker.
Yeah, definitely. So from that point of view, he's, for whatever that's worth, he's playing a character of a different name, a completely different backstory. But to be fair, I could see how Harry Cole could have gone down the path that Gene Hackman did in Enemy of the State, which is obviously 25 years later or whatever it was. Like, I could see how he could become a complete kind of overthinker, completely untrustworthy of anyone, and especially of Big Brother, of the man, of the kind of surveillance state that has become prevalent, obviously, in the age of technology, etc., etc. Mm-hmm. So I know it's kind of something that people say like in jest, but like as a kind of homage to The Conversation, and kind of like a natural following on of The Conversation. Like, this is where this kind of the technology that Harry Cole, if he did end up staying in the kind of surveillance business, you could see absolutely he would have gone on to kind of use a lot of the technology and stuff that would be used in Enemy of the State. Mm-hmm. And it's much more kind of, it's almost like a doff off the cap to The Conversation in that way. So I really love it. Like, Tony Scott is again a pure maximalist pulpy filmmaker. He leaves nothing to the imagination. It's all just like, I kind of love his aesthetic. It's very out there. It's what you see is what you get. Yeah. It's very, you know what I mean? It's
like True Romance is one of my favorite movies ever made.
Yeah, like, he's just everything. Like, he will just throw everything on the screen.
He's an imaginary Elvis played by Val Kilmer. Like, Tony Scott, what a guy.
He'll just throw everything on the screen, and if you like it, you like it, and if you don't, you don't. But he makes no apologies for it, and obviously rest in peace to a go. But yeah, I think as far as like an unofficial sequel, it's not really a sequel, but you get what I'm saying here. It's like it definitely could have been what The Conversation.
Sequel.
That's exactly, actually, earlier on I was thinking of the right way to say this, and that's exactly what I was thinking. So thank you for saving my bacon there. Spiritual sequel. That's exactly.
It only took 56 episodes, but we finally have chemistry.
There you go. So the Enemy of the State from the great Tony Scott, and that's what I've been watching lately.
Yeah, and that is actually episode 57, I believe, of the Golden Hour Film Podcast, The Umbrellas of Cherbourg. Next week is The Conversation. Then, as I said previously, we got a 2-month arc on the way, which is pretty exciting, has to be said. But yeah, next week, Francis Ford Coppola's debut on the podcast, as well as Gene Hackman and John Cazale and a bunch of other people. Next week, The Conversation. But for now, thank you very much, and we'll see you all very soon. Goodbye.